The Holocaust was a system, not random, bureaucratic government, state-sponsored government, persecution, and murder of 6 million Jews by the Nazi regime and its partners. Holocaust is a word of Greek origin, meaning sacrifice by fire. During the era of the Holocaust, German authorities also targeted other groups because of their perceived, thought of, racial inferiority. Roma, Gypsies, the disabled, and some of the Slavic peoples, Poles, Russians, and others. Other groups were persecuted on political, ideological, and behavioral grounds, among them communists, socialists, Jehovah's Witnesses, and homosexuals. What was the Holocaust? In 1933, the Jewish population of Europe was over 9 million. Most European Jews lived in countries that Nazi Germany would occupy or influence during World War II. By 1945, the Germans and their partners killed nearly 2 out of every 3 European Jews as part of the final solution, the Nazi policy to murder the Jews of Europe. Although Jews, whom the Nazis deemed a priority to Germany, were the primary victims of Nazi racism, other victors included some 200,000 Roma Gypsies, at least 200,000 mentally or physically disabled patients, mainly Germans living in institutional settings, were also murdered. As Nazi tyranny, absolute rule, spread across Europe, the Germans and their partners persecuted and murdered millions of other people. Between 2 and 3 million Soviet Russian prisoners of war were murdered or died of starvation, disease, neglect, or maltreatment. The Germans targeted the non-Jewish Polish intelligentsia for killing and deported millions of Polish and Soviet civilians for forced labor in Germany or occupied Poland, where these individuals worked and often died under deplorable conditions. From the earliest years of the Nazi regime, German authorities persecuted homosexuals and others whose behavior did not match prescribed social norms. German police officials targeted thousands of political opponents, including communist, socialist, and trade unionists, and religious dissidents such as Jehovah's Witnesses. Many of these individuals died as a result of incarceration and maltreatment. Administration of the final solution. In the early years of the Nazi regime, the Nationalist Socialist government established concentration camps to detain, hold real and imagined political and ideological opponents. Increasingly, in the years before the outbreak of the war, SS and police officials incarcerated Jews, Roma, and other victims of ethnic and racial hatred in these camps. To concentrate and monitor the Jewish population, as well as to make it easier for later deportation of the Jews, the Germans and their collaborators created ghettos, neighborhoods, transit camps, and forced labor camps for Jews during the war. The German authorities also established numerous forced labor camps, both in the so-called Greater German Reich and in German-occupied territory for non-Jews whose labor the Germans sought to exploit. Following the invasion of the Soviet Union in June 1941, Einsatzgruppen, mobile killing units, and later militarized battalions of order police officials moved behind German lines to carry out mass murder operations against Jews, Roma, and Soviet state and Communist Party officials. German SS and police units, supported by units of Wehrmacht and the Waffen-SS, murdered more than 1 million Jewish women, children, men, women, and children, and hundreds of thousands of others. Between 1941 and 1944, Nazi German authorities deported millions of Jews from Germany, from occupied territories, and from the countries of many of its Axis allies to ghettos and to killing centers, often called extermination camps, where they were murdered in specially developed gassing facilities.